Is this the solution to something that could be ruining your enjoyment of competitive CrossFit and you didn't even realize it? So we finally got our heads around the PFAA and who they are and what they're trying to do in the world of CrossFit. Well, let me throw out another acronym for you, the AFJ. Well, who are they? What are they trying to do? And I suppose most importantly for you, why should you care? So this week a press release went out and they were kind enough to send me a copy too, and I really do appreciate that. And just a side note here, please, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Instagram at JasonCFmedia, because these are the kind of metrics people look at when determining whether or not to send me a press release or give me access and things like that. So it really does help me out, and then I can make these videos and hopefully it helps you too. So this press release was announcing the formation of the AFJ, or the Association of Fitness Judges. Now, before you switch off thinking, well, this doesn't matter, I don't judge, hey, maybe you don't even compete. Perhaps competitive CrossFit is purely a spectator sport for you. Well, let me just inform you how judges are affecting your experience, maybe in a way you didn't even realize. Now, of course, we all know what happens when judges make mistakes at competitions. People get very angry, the other athletes, the spectators, and in most recent years, we've seen online people calling out bad judging. Lots of people are doing it, but probably most noticeably is Andrew Hiller. So what is the solution to this problem? Well, I was tagged in an interesting Instagram story that I then reshared and just wanted to focus in on one portion of. And it was this idea that competitions were adjusting their programming so that judges would have less impact on the outcome. Now, on the surface, we might think, well, that's a good thing. We want judges to have less impact on the outcome. But in reality, what they were implying is that certain movements that were being deemed difficult to judge were just not being programmed. Now, if that truly is the case, well, it becomes a slippery slope to see what starts getting removed from competition. And when I shared the story, I did get a number of replies with people saying, yeah, they were seeing this happening. In fact, I was even told about one competition that had somebody programming for it. When they sent through the programming, well, an entire movement was removed solely because they didn't want the judges to mess it up. Now, we know that programming for competitions is as much art as it is science, and once you start removing an element of a workout, well, you can change the whole thing. And then, of course, we can have completely the opposite happen. A competition could program some incredibly interesting events, and yet because judges make some bad calls, it affects the programming, and that competition gets dragged through the coals. So hopefully we can start to see how our enjoyment, even as spectators, is affected by this judging problem. And then what about the judges themselves? How do they feel about this? Because if they're spending their time and money to travel down to a competition, and then they're there and they're just glorified rep counters, well, that's not going to be an enjoyable experience, and they're probably going to feel undervalued. A knock-on effect on all of this is just how hard it becomes to actually get judges to go to competitions, and we see less people wanting to start judging in the first place. And what that means is that competitions now have to take who is available, even if they are not the most capable. So now we understand a little bit more about the problem. So how does the AFJ plan to address it? Well, of course, you can head to their website and read the entire press release, but let's just highlight the three main goals or objectives that they have. So the first is that they want to build a directory of CrossFit judges. Now, that is not simply a list of names, but it would include their judging experience as well. And the idea is that this could then link up with competitions, training camps, and even individual athletes so they can get access to these judges. Now just think about how this could be beneficial for individual athletes, for example. If you've got an athlete that it really thinks they've got a chance to make it doing something like the Rogue qualifier, well, they could actually get in contact with an experienced judge and have them come down and judge them for the online qualifiers. Now surely that is better than having a coach, a relative, or a training partner who may have some unintentional bias wanting them to get a good score so that they can make it to compete at Rogue. And hopefully by doing this and getting independent judges in, well, we'll start to see less penalties after the review process. Now, the second goal or objective is linked to competitions and feedback. So obviously they want to help competitions fill their need for judges, and that will be obviously linked to the previous goal as well. But they also want to be able to develop feedback for the judges that go to those competitions. So less experienced judges can sort of be mentored by those that are more experienced and actually hone their craft. And what is going to help them with that even more is their third goal, and that is to do with education. They want to develop resources available for judges so they can improve. So that is documents, videos, seminars. Now, some examples of this could be what to expect at a competition, where they would have maybe videos of athletes performing the movements at the speed you'd expect to see them in a competition, and also from angles that you would expect to be judging in a competition that we know are not always ideal. Another example could be linked to online judging, so helping judges to help athletes set up for an online review, so tips and tricks to make sure that those videos are not getting unnecessary penalties. Or even worse, getting no score because they've made a simple mistake with a video and it's got nothing to do with their fitness at all. And with all of this, we see that the AFJ are working closely with the PFA, and obviously they have their objective of trying to standardize things and make it better for athletes at competitions, so we can understand why they would be working together on these common goals. Now, I'm sure you, like me, can see a number of positives that could come out of these arrangements from the AFJ. But it does sound like a tremendous amount of work. And this is a tremendous amount of work being done by people that are already doing a lot for CrossFit and CrossFit competitions and not getting much back. In fact, sometimes the only thing they get back is criticism. So it does make you wonder if all of those involved in judging will take advantage of these resources and have to give up more time and energy to hone their skills. But if people do it and it does work, does that mean we will see an elevation in the quality of judging at competitions? And if that is the case, how will that affect the programming that we see at these events? And could it also have that knock-on effect of actually getting more people involved in judging in the first place because there are more resources available to them? As always, I'm interested to know what you think, so please let me know in the comments down below. But one thing I'm sure we all agree on is we would like to see improvements at competitions in general. So could this just be one piece of a bigger puzzle to improve the competitive CrossFit scene?